So hello everyone. In school, we are taught what to think, but rarely in life, we are taught how to think. And that's the most important thing in order to be successful in your life. Now, in life, when you come across various challenges, in that case, what you'll think first? How people before me solve this problem. And that's the root cause of being ordinary. In order to be successful, in order to be extraordinary, you have to think out of the box. And that's where, my dear friends, first principle thinking comes into picture. In my college days, I was a first opinion person. I was not knowing the fact and concept of first principle thinking. And that's when I came across the fundamental aspects of first principle thinking, which completely transformed the way I used to think, I used to solve the problem. Now, you might ask that this first principle thinking, who are the pioneers of these thinkers who use this technique to improvise in their business and in their day-to-day life? My dear friends, let me tell you, the world's richest man, Mr. Elon Musk, he has used this technique relentlessly in each and every aspect of his business. Now, let's go back one step and let's visualize a tree having fruits all over its branches. Now, if someone asks you how you will make 100 of those beautiful trees who have those fresh fruits over them, now you'll think, a normal people will think, I'll replicate these trees and it will happen. But it won't happen like that. You need to go to the core of the problem in order to solve it. You need to see the fruit. You need to find out that it is attached to a branch, and that branch is attached to a trunk, and that trunk goes down the ground with perfect roots. Now, when you find out that the roots need to be stronger in order to have a better tree, you need to get how to get the stronger roots. Stronger roots come from the stronger seeds, and stronger seeds, when nourished in the perfect environment, gives you a perfect tree. Now, that's how you think structurally. That's how you think from a first principle. First principle thinking basically means you need to go down to the basic entity which cannot be assumed further. For example, in science, we know 3 laws of motion. In classical mechanics, everything arises from these 3 laws. Nothing is beyond those 3 laws. And that's how, when you make your business or make your life surround about those 3 principles, those key pillars, then the probability of you being right increases drastically. Now, let's talk about the ancient roots about it. For example, you must have read about Archimedes' principle, right? That particular principle was a brainchild of first principle thinking. When a king came to Archimedes and asked him that I have this crown, it is made of gold. It is said to me that it is made of gold, but I suspect it is not pure. It has silver in it. How will you make sure that it has pure gold, no silver, without breaking the crown? Now, Archimedes went back to the drawing board. He thought, how I can do it? Because at that point in time, there was practically no way of finding out whether it contains gold only or it has some silver in it. Then, while submerged in his bathroom, he found out that the amount of water displaced by an object is equal to the density of it. And at that point in time, while using these first principles, he came to the conclusion that if the crown is submerged into the water displaced by it should equal to the density of the gold. If it is not equal, then it must have the silver in it. Even in the current age, the Elon Musk's famous company, which is SpaceX. Do you know how SpaceX was originated? How the brainchild of that whole concept was originated? So when Elon Musk went to Russia asking for some rockets, he found out the cost of owning a rocket to land upon Mars is huge. He cancelled the deal. On the way back on his flight to Russia, from Russia, he found out that, let me think, what makes these rockets so costly? The raw material, that is just 2%. The engineering surrounded by it, that must be around 20%. Where does the 80% of the whole cost go? He found out that it was because the rockets were non-reusable. And at that point in time, he found out that in order to make SpaceX the groundbreaking rocket company, he has to find out how the reusability is ensured. Similarly, as we know, the modern Tesla, which is a pioneer in electric mobiles, how it came into the existence. When Elon Musk found out that the electric vehicles are costly not because of their design, not because of the technology, but because of the battery components. And he asked one thing, why damn batteries are so expensive? He found out this is the supply chain problem, not a technical problem. And that was the eureka moment, because he made sure that if the supply chain is well regulated, battery prices will come down, and with evolved cheap batteries, the Tesla-like company can come into existence with affordable electric vehicles for everyone. So my dear friends, the whole motive of telling you these stories is to think from a first principle technique. Now you'll ask me that in general, it looks very good to find out that this is the story and how they came into the conclusion. But what is the framework? How you can find out, how you can implement this thing in your life? So let me tell you a framework. We have a framework for it, and this will help you in your business problem, in your life problems, in your aspirations. And this principle we use in our software development world as well. And the principle is known as 5 why framework. So whenever a thing goes wrong in your life, just don't sit and just say that, okay, X thing has gone in my life, now what should I do? No, just ask 5 whys on the top of it. Now let's assume that someone who was supposed to be in this conference was late. Okay, now you'll ask that what are the first why he is late. He'll tell that he was late to the bus stop, that's why the bus got missed. The second why is why the bus got missed, because he left from home late. The third why he left from home late, because he woke up late. The fourth why he woke up late, because the alarm clock went off and he couldn't find it, right? Now at the 5 why, he can finally fixate the problem to the alarm clock, and in future he can have an alternate mechanism to make sure that if a single alarm gets missed, there is an alternative strategy in place to awake him right on time. So now he knows, he pinpoints to a single thing that has led the catastrophic delay in a very important event. Similarly, in terms of a student life, for example, a student failed. Why he failed? Because he couldn't solve the problems. Why he couldn't solve the problems? Because he couldn't understand the core concepts. Why he couldn't understand the core concepts? Because he had only 2 days of time to mug up those concepts. So he wrote down those concepts rather than understanding it. So when you go to the 5 why, you find out the core root of the problem. And when you know the root of the problem, it is much easier to solve that problem. It is not a principle for only engineers. It is not an engineering problem. It is something which we all can implement in our lives and make our lives better, make our decision making better. It influences how we make the decisions. And if we make better decisions, it will lead to a better life. So that's why I leave you with this thought of the first principle thinker, which in my point of view will, if you implement in your life, will make you a better person, will make you a better decision maker, and can make a lot of difference in the decisions in your life, which in times of come, and you can become a much more successful person by implementing 5 why principle technique. Thank you.